Hello and welcome to another video from the Jesus of History community. My name's Antonio Sebastian, for those of you that don't know me, and in today's video we'll be talking to the author Paul Greenall and discussing his book Out of the Light into the Darkness. Stay with me and we'll meet Paul on the other side of this brand. Okay, so I'd like to introduce you to the author Paul Greenall, who's in sunny Scotland at the moment, and as you can see by the amount of clothes he's got on, it's unusual weather at the moment, Paul. So, Paul, welcome to the Jesus of History community. And so, first of all, I couldn't manage to get a decent image of your book. Could you just hold your book up for the audience? That's it. This is the book that's available. We're hoping that it's going to be available on Amazon very shortly. It's available in Scotland is that softback or hardback, Paul?
Softback.
Yeah, perfect. And that's Out of the Light into the Darkness, which discusses Paul's experiences and his insights over the years regarding those insights. So, Paul, I wonder if you could just give us an idea of what prompted you to write the book.
I think being a charity, I've got a background of, let's say that, I'm going to put it, a dark side of background, and it was really about raising funds for the charity, a way of doing that, but also about a way of expressing an inner story that's never really been told. A plight that it's a darker side of life that people really don't want to look at and kind of avoid. And it was really about getting it out there. We can kind of talk about it, but you get shunned away. So for me, it was about putting it to print, really say the story that was in myself and getting it out there. Sometimes, as with the sport we do, we don't really tell our story, because it's always about other people. We just keep our own stories to ourselves. And this was kind of like an opportunity to express my own feelings and thoughts around, a story that is applied for a lot of people, throughout the world.
Could you give us, without, obviously I don't want to embarrass you or anything, but could you give us an idea of the arc of the book? What does the book actually discuss? What is the content of the story?
It's set back in the 60s. It's around the life of a young boy, and he has to go through the trauma, he has to go through, and really his personal threat, a lot of abuse. It is the punch is there. I mean, it's the thoughts and feelings are right in there to be heard, and it's about someone who's fighting life, really fighting life.
Mm-hmm. And what sort of form did that abuse come from? Was that sort of like in the family, within the culture? What emotional, physical?
Yeah, it was reinforced. It was sexual abuse reinforced with violence. That really, that's hold with fear. Really that. And again, a young person confused with mixed emotions, what's going on? Really, just really looking for a way out of that.
Mm-hmm. No, it's particularly growing up myself in those times. It's frightening how prevalent it was. Certainly during the 60s. And we were just talking a moment ago about your history in the martial arts, in boxing. Did you find that studying the martial arts helped you in any way? And did you bring that into the book at all?
I never brought it into the book, no, but definitely, yeah, it definitely has helped me in a lot of ways. You know, the martial arts really give me a mental discipline within myself. You know, and again, you know, the club that I'm involved with is like a family. It is. You know, anybody that's into martial arts, they really are. You know, especially the karate side and that side of it. There is a kind of like a spiritual side of it. You know, there is a mental side to it that really gives you balance, and you step out of life and into the dojo. It is an amazing piece of life, you know.
So this book, the story of the book of this young boy set in the 60s, sort of where does it pick him up, and where does the book lead him? You know, to give people an idea of.
Yeah, I can't really. I don't really want to share the blunt of that because the book does leave a cliffhanger for the second book. But you know, I
Excellent.
wrote. You know, I wrote this book really because I wanted to do. It came about uh, because I wanted to put it out there that you know there is a plight, and to do that it's about a short film. And when I thought about the short film, I had this story in my head that had to come out, but I needed the words for it, and how I would do that. The journey was there already, but it was really putting it down into a place where it could be heard. And
Hmm.
that's where this book came out. It's only a 50,000 read, so it's only a short novel, but
Hmm.
it's packed. It is fuel packed. That with every page, you know, it is full of
Hmm.
emotion. But it came about that, so it was really, you know, and I wrote it really, really quickly, and I was quite surprised. It was like I can't explain it. It's like, you know, in life, I've always been led to believe I would never amount to anything in life, you know, from such a young age. And when I put the pen to paper, it was like actually finding an inner part of me that I'd never realized was there. You know, I've always been intellectually challenged. I stepped into university a few years ago where the contemplating of doing that was like beyond me. You know, I would never even think about doing that because why would I do that? I'd be so stupid. But you put yourself into that position. So for me to say, you know, to actually write a book was like I could never put myself in that position to say, well, you could write a book. It just flowed, and it flowed with my soul. My soul went into
Hmm.
the book, and you
I
know, and
think
it's
I
captured
think
there. And
I think most. I certainly experienced that myself, so I totally understand what you're saying there. Um, Two questions come to mind. The First of all, sort of, what insights do you feel that you've brought to obviously a lot of, unfortunately, a lot of people have been abused. It's frighteningly common, you know, both emotional and physical abuse. Um, what insights do you feel that you've brought to the table, if you see what I mean?
yeah, I think the biggest thing of it all uh, is an acknowledgement. You know, I think of anybody that's maybe gone through abuse and stuff like that. I think, you know, whatever the journey takes them in finding that resolution of it all, you know, that understanding, that underlining of it all is really, you know, and a lot of it is time goes by. You know, it could be, you know, years before it could come up. You know, so it's really very much past. I think it's really about an acknowledgement that it's there and an
Mm.
understanding that it happens. I think, you know, even though you can't put it right, you can't go back in the past, you can't do anything like that, it's to say, you know what, this is here, this has happened. And it's this acknowledgement, I think, about it all. And I think, you know, when I get the feedback from all the people that's read the book, I haven't had one, you know, and I've encouraged, you know, people to come back and say, you know, pardon my French, but you know, the book's shite, you know, and you know, say that, you know, I just want everything just to read it and think about it, what it is, and you know, and all the feedback come back and says, you know what, wow, wow, that's so powerful, and it's left there. You know, you can feel the emotions and feelings in each page you turn, and you won't stop turning the pages, start to finish. And that's what everybody said. You know, you won't finish the book. You'll finish the book. You won't put it down.
You definitely need to get it on Amazon. I'll have a word with Mark to do that, because I can go through it with him. It's quite easy if you've got the software and the background, you know, to do it. And Mark's a whiz on the computer. It's part of our job offshore. So I'll have a word with Mark, but you definitely need to get that up on Amazon. One question that does occur to me, certainly from my own experience and my wife's experiences, why do you think or feel that people actually treat particularly children, because it kind of beggars belief how people do it, and you're quite right that often people think of themselves as very good people, and they'll go through their life and they'll say, oh, I'm a good dad, or I'm a good mum, or I'm a good person. They never really acknowledge to themselves what they've done. And often families just, particularly in the UK, because in the UK they don't really talk that much, not really, just sort of day-to-day nonsense. They don't often really talk about real deep issues, which is why I think the book is so important. Why is it, do you think, people do behave in that way, and why do you think it's so hard for them to come to acknowledge that it's happened?
It's a difficult one, isn't it? You know, because you have to really put yourself in the shoes of that person. But looking at the back end of that, I think it's very much about power, and control. My own experiences is very much that, and you know, and to take the control, you really, really need the power. To take that, because I remember, I look at my life now, and you know, we inherit the history of our past. You know, like the roundabout of things we do in life that are the past. You know, and you know, I've got 3 marriages past me, and I can see that roundabout in life. And but the acknowledgement, I think, I don't know if I could answer that. You know, I mean, really, you know, in the support, I support people. You know, our charity is non-judgmental, you know, and I could come up against a person that's abused, you know, and I would set my heart differently, and I would support that person without judgment. But I couldn't still understand today, you know, even today, you know, the not acknowledging it, why they wouldn't acknowledge that. You know, I couldn't understand that. I really, you know, that whether they don't want to, I don't know. I really don't know.
It is strange. It is a strange phenomenon. So on that note then, Paul, the other thing I'm really interested in is the charity that, did you set this charity up, or is it one that you joined, or?
No, you know, I've spanned over 40 years throughout a wide range of organizations throughout my life. I mean, really come back to soup kitchens and, you know, Sally Army, all different organizations throughout my life. And it was through moving, you know, through a marriage breakdown and moving from one coast to another coast that I came each time something happens in my life, it would take me away from support till I got myself sorted out and I'll go back into support. And it was moving from the west coast to the east coast, where again I set back down. You know, I'd got myself into a place where, you know, I'd gone to different organisations and supported, but I'd gone past the stage where, you know, am I giving too much to organisations? I'm newly married now. You know, what about something in your hometown? And it was that, you know, came about, you know, we could have a charity here. I don't have to travel to charity, and, you know, I can bring it to the core of who I am. So it was me and a friend that founded the charity. You know, we just set about one Christmas and went into crisis ourselves and went out there to see what was available for us. And it came about.
So could you tell us about the charity then, Paul? It's Why Suffer in Silence, I believe.
Yeah, why suffer in silence? It's a letter Y, which is really, it's the hands up, the letter Y reaching out, suffer in silence. We are a charity that, we're we're a two-tier charity, which we offer a reflective, emotional listening support, and we offer person-centered counselling. We
So
offer
again, last.
support. We are
So again.
person-centered counselling.
Oh, okay.
And we offer offer telephone support, group support, face-to-face support. We support teens, which is 13s to 19s. We're looking at walking, talking therapy, so you don't have to come into the centre. So we're looking at every avenue that we do support in the charity. We support from you're just having a bad day, one bad day too many, to right at the end of the spectrum where you're really on a crisis and taking your life, and everything in between that. So that's
Is this specifically just for men, or is it for?
No, absolutely not. No, our charity is for everybody, but we have different parts of the charity will do different things. We have a women's part that is just for women only, which will be a group. It can be group chat, face to face, or it can be on online platform. We have Manscape, which is men only, and again, it's on the ground, which is face to face support. It can also be it's on the platform as well, which is we do a platform on different social medias, or we could be live ops, we could be WhatsApp, or we could be Teams, or we could be there's another one I can't remember. There's whatever they are, we pick them up on. Yeah.
Do you only deal with Scotland, or are you sort of international?
Yeah, we've actually got a volunteer at the moment that's actually in an offshore abroad, coming in volunteering. We didn't realise it had actually gone home, but we are based in Scotland. But we are open to anybody that calls. We don't
So
turn anybody.
if anybody's watching this, then Paul, so we do have quite a few community members in the UK. If anybody's watching this, how do they get in touch with the charity?
Yeah, they can. The best way to get in touch with our charity is on our Facebook page. It's the most active page, which is Facebook Why Suffer in Silence. We also have the website, which is www.whysufferinsilence.org.uk. That's down at the moment. We're revamping that at the moment. You can also email us on info@whysufferinsilence.org.uk, or you can call us on the landline as well. So, each way, if you're offshore, there are platforms now we can come on. We've got teams, we're training online offshore at the moment with some volunteers. We've got some volunteers from Glasgow, we've got some volunteers from Edinburgh coming in, so we can still do the support that way as well. The COVID has changed our charity in a big way. It's really pushed it out because we've had to really adapt in the last couple of years since the COVID started. While face-to-face has stopped, so we had to still be out there. So we've had to really retrain everything online now. So there's a lot of that. So we find it's been really, really helpful. A lot of people that hasn't been able to get into sport has now found us and come into support. So we're not going to go back from that. We're going to carry on with that type of support, even though we go back into face-to-face. Yeah.
That's a good idea. So could you just, to round that up, Paul, could you just tell us about the sequel to Out of the Light into the Darkness, the book that you're working on? I think that's going to be on Amazon, yeah?
Yeah, it's around about 120,000 words. It is the sequel to it. Again, it's just as powerful. I don't want to spoil the book. It just really leaves you on a good cliffhanger, and I mean, everybody wants the next book. Everybody's shouting about get that next book out, but I really want to get the first book out there to show you, because that's what it's about, the book, and then it's the follow-up for the conclusion of the book. I have got 3 other books on the go, believe it or not.
Tell me.
I've got One Child Too Many. And it's about, again, it is another book about, it is set about paedophilia, and that side of it is about grooming gangs, exploiting children, throughout Scotland and Wales. I've got Our Child, which is a story about a family that's lost two children, and they go through genetic IVF, and the child is born with dual sexuality, and it's the child coming through and growing up with dual gender, and the implications of thoughts and feelings all around that. That book is going to be a 3-section book, because there is the story is about the child growing with the gender, but the book is bringing up is where they've got to that stage of coming into the child being born, and that, so it's quite a good read. So yeah, so there's a few on the go, but again, it just seems to be that the pen flows, and it just. I mean,
I would imagine that you should be able to get a good book deal for a book dealing with a transgender issue. That does seem to be a hot topic at the moment.
It is a really really powerful book. It is about, a wealthy couple that's at Chateau in France, and they're coming down from the chateau, and there's a flash flood, and they lose the upside down into a ravine, and they cause flooding, and there's a fight between losing the children and the wife, and eventually the children are lost, and it is a fight between the parents losing these children and filling a vast void. But there is, as you are aware, sometimes parents have a favorite child, and within this particular family, each parent favors a child, and when this child is born and it becomes dual gender, there's a split in the parents, and there's a pull between what sexuality this child is, which is about the child. And it is a powerful emotional book, and it's about the child growing up, how he's coping with the dual gender. He's left with questions where he can give birth, but he can't conceive as a male. He has two genetics within inside him. One of the embryos dies at the pregnancy stage, and the other embryo pulls in the genetic side to it. It gives it the dual, and it is two separate DNAs within the body. He has a man's heart, so he cannot give birth, but he has the ability, so it is a section. So, but he's also pulled by the male.
Did you do a lot of research for that, Paul?
Yes, some of, but my writing is really. Somebody said you write like train spotting. It is really core. It is really core writing from thoughts and feelings, how we would feel, and we have to look at the practicality of it. And I have had to look at that side of it. It is real. It can happen. This can happen in life. And how would you feel? And I think it's about, supporters putting yourselves in that person's shoes and thinking, how would you feel if this was it? And what would you face your conflicts? And what would it be? And this is how I kind of write and pull it in that way, how I would feel about that.
Well, that sounds really interesting, Paul. So I would thoroughly recommend, just to remind everybody, could you give us a picture of your book? If I had a copy, I'd put it up on screen.
Yeah. Sorry.
So that's it. Yeah, I've got it. So there's the book, Out of the Light and Into the Darkness, by the author Charles Zammar, which of course is Paul's pen name.
Yeah.
And I think you could get in touch with Paul. If anybody's interested, you could send me a message via the contact on the Jesus of History website, and I'll get that message over to Paul so that you can get a copy of the book. Yep. All right then, Paul. Thanks ever so much for your time, sir. I will. I think you're going to be joining us this afternoon with Christina to review the book The Gift by Edith, whose surname eludes me for the moment. We look forward to having you there. Thanks a lot, Paul. I'll end the broadcast there. Stand by.
Thank you.